Here's a pattern I see with developing coaches. They get really good at asking questions about the problem. What's the situation? What have you tried? What are the obstacles? Those are useful questions, but they miss the person behind the problem. And that's where transformation actually lives. Think about the last few coaching sessions you've observed or delivered. How many questions were about the challenge itself, the logistics, the stakeholders, the timeline? And how many were about the person facing that challenge, their values, their beliefs, what this situation reveals about who they are? Most of us lean heavily toward problem-focused questioning because it feels productive. We're making progress, gathering information, moving towards solutions. But here's the thing. Solving the problem gives your client temporary relief. Understanding themselves creates lasting capacity. That's the shift this marker is asking us to make. ICF puts it this way. The coach asks questions about the client, such as their way of thinking, values, needs, wants, and beliefs. Notice what's being named here. This isn't about solving the problem. It's about exploring the person who's facing it, their thinking patterns, what they value, what they need, what they actually want, what they believe about themselves in this situation. A very important part of coaching is to focus on the client and what the client wants and needs, not just on the problem they're trying to solve or what they're trying to accomplish. That distinction matters. Let me make this distinction really concrete. Problem-focused questions sound like, what's the challenge? What options do you have? What have you tried so far? Person-focused questions sound completely different. What's important to you about this? What does this situation reveal about what you value? What do you believe about yourself here? You see the difference? Both types have a place. But person-focused questions unlock something deeper. They help your client understand why this particular challenge matters to them and what's underneath their reaction to it. When you coach the person, not just the problem, you're helping them build capacity they'll use long after this issue is resolved. ICF specifically names 5 areas worth exploring. Thinking, how does your client typically approach situations like this? What patterns do they notice in their own thinking? Values, what matters most to them here? What principles are they trying to honor or might be compromising? Needs, what do they actually need in this situation to feel whole, supported, or effective? Wants, what do they really want? If they could design the ideal outcome, what would it look like? And beliefs, what do they believe is true about themselves or the situation? What assumptions are operating in the background? Any one of these can open a door that problem-focused questions would never find. Here's why this matters so much. I've seen clients brilliantly solve one problem, the specific issue they brought to coaching, only to come back 6 months later with the exact same pattern showing up in a completely different context. Different players, different situations, same underlying dynamic. That happens because the problem got solved, but the person didn't change. When you help clients understand their values, examine their beliefs, and recognize their thinking patterns, you're giving them something that transfers. They don't just resolve this issue, they develop the self-awareness to navigate the next one differently. That's the real work of coaching. Focus on the person facing the problem, not just the problem itself. So here's what I want you to take from this. Coaching focuses on the client and what they want and need, not just the problem they're trying to solve. Person-focused questions don't replace problem solving. They deepen it. They give your client access to parts of themselves that explain why this situation matters and what's really at stake. Watch out for a few common traps. Getting seduced by the interesting problem and forgetting the person, skipping person-focused questions because they feel abstract, or treating values and beliefs exploration as optional rather than essential. One powerful way to explore the person is through observations about what you notice, especially when it comes to values. That's where we're headed next.